Hi, Amanda here. Welcome back to my channel. Please don't subscribe. I'm terrible at this. I am aware that I have not delivered on any of the content that I said that I was going to get around to this year. And I have a good excuse for at least one of those promises that I made. But the next episode of that series that I have in mind will sort of be the more traditional idea that I have for it. And it's going to be for Peter Capaldi. Yes, that one. For his album that is coming out November 19th. It's called St. Christopher, and I've pre-ordered it on vinyl. But that I do want to do an episode where I am, taking it out of the packaging and looking at it for the first time and reacting to it and, kind of giving what my predictions are for what the inside will look like. The Peter Capaldi album. So look, when the album vinyl got announced, I was very, very aware, and I pretty much expected it to not ship on time, even though the album released in November, I believe. I knew the vinyl would probably be backed up, but I think unlike some people, I knew it was going to be very, very backed up. There's been emails from Monk Road Social or Monk Road Records. I'll fix it in post. Monk's Road Records. So there's been emails from them explaining that the vinyl is going to be backed up until at least March. And so I added another month to that, considering I am in the US and it's shipping from the UK. So I probably won't see it until April sometime. So there will be an Unsleeving on Peter Capaldi's album, St. Christopher, but it won't be until next year. So, which I totally planned for. As for the rest of the Unsleeving series that I talked about, I think I talked about doing one for Modest Mouse. I know I talked about doing one for Modest Mouse, actually. It was for Good News for People Who Love Bad News. And I also had hinted that I want to do Riley Ritchie, Andy. Look, I shot thumbnails for at least 3 episodes in that series. I shot one for Modest Mouse, one for Riley, and then one for the David Byrne and St. Vincent 2012 collaboration, Love This Giant. So there are plans. They just didn't quite work out this year, and that's okay. It's coming though. There are thumbnails, so I mean, that's gotta hold me to some sort of standard. Like I went through the trouble of like setting up the lighting for it and everything. So yeah, there are thumbnails, and they're there. There was a bunch of other content that I did not mention that I wanted to do for the channel, and I just didn't fucking do it. I really want to do a video about Dope Sick, which was a limited series that was on Hulu. That was excellent. And probably hit a little closer to home than I wanted it to. I really want to do a video about that show because I thought it was so much better than the advertising made it look like it was gonna be. Sort of how it was shot, it looks very like CBS drama, but it was a lot deeper than that, and really well written and really well executed. And then there was a video that I kind of want to do about the Walker reboot with Jared Padalecki, who I love. And then Jared, he's had some issues, and I don't know, it just didn't feel right to sort of go into my annoyances about the Walker reboot. It's so unimportant. It doesn't really matter more than like Jared's mental health, I guess. Not that he would ever see that dumb video that I was gonna make, but it just didn't feel right, so I didn't want to do it. I also wanted to do a video about the Dan Avidan thing that happened a little bit earlier in the year, but it was such a non-incident. I don't even think that many people got to pump out videos about what happened. And if you don't know, there was a bit of a scandal with Dan that happened with between him and a fan. But there was the only scandal was that like Dan sort of used his influence to sort of get into the fan or pants of a fan who was, which by all accounts was completely consensual, and they were both adults. So I think it was just that he's seen as such like the pure and good part of Game Grumps, that it was really weird to think that he had done something that wasn't like the most purest hearted thing in the world. So yeah, lot of content that I want to do that I didn't do, that I'm actually kind of happy I didn't do now. Again, the Walker video doesn't really make me feel all that great, and the thing about Dan was such a non-incident now that it doesn't really make sense. So, hi, editing Amanda here. As I have been going through and editing the video, I've realized that I have perhaps glossed over the stuff with Dan a bit too much. I didn't really want to get into details about it because it did turn out that the allegations against him weren't as serious as they were first presented. But I want to make it clear that like the things that have come out about Dan makes it obvious that he may not be the best person in the world. That he's very charming and has done some really assholey things. I would like to think that he's aware of that and has worked on that. But that being said, nothing that has come forward so far has been exactly illegal. A lot of it has been emotionally based, which there's nothing wrong with that. Emotions are valid, and the women who have their issues with Dan, they are completely valid in how they feel and what they feel like Dan has done to them. But legally speaking, nothing Dan has done is illegal. They're just kind of really jerk face things to do. So I wanted to clarify that because I do just kind of sweep over it in the video, and as I was editing that didn't feel like the right approach, considering everything that happened, everything that's been brought up with him by the fan that he had the sexual contact with, and his past assistant. So yeah, what I wanted to do instead to kind of, I guess, make up for all the content I didn't actually do this year that I said I was going to do, I guess I just kind of wanted to talk about the things in 2022 that I want to do more of. I had sort of like a mental list of things to discuss, but I didn't really write them down, so I don't know how like coherently all this is gonna come out. But I first want to talk about the fact that I got to write about music this year. I was brought on to a site called musicfiends.com. I was asked to be a writer by my friend Malou, who I've known for like forever. And I was really nervous about it because I don't consider myself like a person who's capable of writing about music. I don't really see myself as someone that has the vocabulary for it. Like when I read music reviews, there's like a certain sort of like just sort of flow to it, and like a certain like vernacular that people use, and like a certain descriptors that people use for music, and I just didn't really have the brain for any of that. And so I almost said no. But then I said yes because it was sort of, this has been the year, or I guess the last couple of years have been just me attempting to say yes to more things, to not let insecurities and stuff get in the way of me sort of missing out on opportunities, because within the last few years, I've begun to sort of see the consequence of that, of sort of doubting myself and doubting my talents, sidelining myself, and then sort of having to watch opportunities around me sort of go to other people or become something that I really wish I would have done. So I said yes. And so I got to write about music for a couple of months this year. The website went live in October. And so I got to cover Shaky Knees, which means I got to, talk about Modest Mouse and take pictures. And oh gosh, there was more than just Modest Mouse at Shaky Knees, trust me. St. Vincent was there. That was awesome. She was incredible to see. Gosh, Alice Cooper, and just so many incredible bands. The Hives, holy shit, I saw the Hives like twice this year because they did like a show that was sort of in collaboration with Shaky Knees, but it was at a venue, and but they also did a show at the festival as well, and they were fucking amazing. And I had been wanting to see the Hives since I was in high school, but they don't really play America very much, so I got to see them twice, got to take some really great pictures of them. And in addition to Shaky Knees, I got to write a couple of album reviews. I reviewed Valentine by Snail Mail, and I reviewed TV or Not TV by Lily, and St. Christopher by Peter Capaldi. So I got to write about music, and there's so many other people that I want to write about. I got to do like a little bit of a write up on Riley Ritchie, which was really cool, and I definitely want to write about him more. It's weird to call him like underrated or like unknown, because he's very known, but I think he's known in like a certain circle. But yeah, I just want to tell the entire world about how incredible he is. There's interviews I want to do. We sort of have a section on the site called The Probe, which is like an email interview that we get to do with artists, and I have a couple of bands lined up for that. I'm very excited about continuing to write for music, and it's really fun. That's something that made me so nervous and so intimidated, 5-6 months ago, however long ago that was, that Malou came to me with that idea, is now something that makes me very excited that I am like, moving sort of the goalpost on as far as how much I want to do it. Something else that I have on my list of resolutions of things that I want to do is I want to take more pictures. If you go back in my channel, there are a couple of videos here that are about photography. They're not very good videos. And I did those videos because I bought a D3 on eBay for like $400 or something, because the shutter count was out of this world. It was almost 1 million shutter clicks. So I bought it. And I bought it because it was cheap, but also it was like my one chance to own a flagship Nikon camera, because I'm poor, and I cannot foresee myself like spending, $6,000, especially since I'm, it's a hobby for me. I don't really make money at it. I got to do an engagement shoot this year, which was fun. But I don't think I would do that, full time or, for money. Again, I did like do it for money, but it made me realize how much I miss just taking pictures, even if it's just for me. I guess the last resolution that I have is just to write more. I finished a book this year, which was really cool and really challenging, and right now I'm sort of in the process of shopping that to lit agents to see if anyone is interested in representing me for that book. But it was a process getting it written and sort of writing it and knowing that it was going to be more than just me reading it, because that's generally what happens with my screenplays, is I write them and I can give them to a couple of people to read them, but then they just kind of sit in a folder on my hard drive or whatever, and until I figure out a contest to enter them into. With shopping the manuscript that I have, though, it's been a little bit different, because it's been a constant process of sending it out to strangers and getting back very templated feedback, which is to say no feedback at all, just rejection, which I guess is feedback enough. So more writing, and maybe try to do more content on the YouTubes. Uh, Maybe, I don't know. Yes, we'll do it. We'll make stuff. I'm filming this on my Google Pixel 6, which has been a hell of a lot easier to set up than the DSLR that I filmed the other video on, and that I sometimes will film on. It's also been easier than setting up the Canon HG10, which is a consumer camcorder that I've had for way too long. I just don't have the heart to sell it, or them. I have two of them. But they're so outdated, and just, I don't think they ever, I mean, they did look great when I bought them back in like 2011. So yeah, those are a hopefully halfway cohesive list of my intentions for next year. If you've watched anything on the channel this year, thank you. If this is your first time watching something from me, hopefully you'll sub and come back, or maybe you won't. I don't know. It's okay either way. Yeah, it's been a weird year. I'm happy it's over, or almost over. I'm very much looking forward to 2022, even though it looks like it's going to be a lot of the same thing. But I don't know. One can hope that maybe there'll be a bright spot somewhere in the next year, and that things will get better. I don't know. This is way deeper than I want to go for a YouTube video. I'm going to end this here. Yeah, and there's a very loud truck starting up, so this is just the right time to cut. So, see you next year.